My name is Hari Parmeshwar, and briefly my background is I'm a commerce graduate from Delhi University, Sri Ram College of Commerce, followed by post-graduation in HR from XLRI Jamshedpur. I've done my masters in business law from National Law School, University of India. I have 18 years of industry experience in corporate, that is Maruti Udyog Limited. And for the last 18 years, I have been teaching, training, consulting. The only thing left for me to do is to do some writing. Apart from that, I have covered almost all areas of management expertise. As far as my experience in teaching is concerned, I have taught at the IIMs, I have taught at Delhi University, IIT, and practically most of the institutes in the National Capital Region. I teach MBA students mostly. I teach students who are experienced, that is working in industry, right? Experienced people, what is called corporate executive program. So teaching undergraduate students is perhaps the most exciting out of the lot, because postgraduate students are already sort of shaped. Most of their mental models are made, and as a teacher one can only add to their existing model or hope to make some difference. But when we are talking about undergraduate students, whether it's the first year, second year or third year, these are very fresh students just out of school, and they've just come out from the protected environment of the school system and the parental homes, and suddenly they experience freedom in the colleges. But that freedom has to be, that not only that freedom and that curiosity, that energy has to be channelized to some meaningful understanding of academics, studies, subjects, and its linkage with what is happening in the world. I think the problem with most of our education system has been, like for example, even the textbooks are highly theoretical with very few examples and so on and so forth. And that's where as a teacher probably one can make a difference, to make the subject live in terms of its context, in terms of what is happening in the world, especially in India and the world. It is then that the student gets interested in the subject. So by nature all students are sincere, are serious. It is our job to make them interested and excited in our subject, and I think that's the first thing which I try to do. I try not to concentrate too much on the syllabus or the course outline or what is going to come in the exams. I mean, that's something which we can take care of later. But can I get them interested in this subject? I have 24 hours with them, 24 to say 40 hours with them, but the subject is much bigger than what one can teach in 40 hours. So if I get them interested in the subject, then automatically they become students of that subject for life, beyond my textbook, beyond my course, and beyond the exam. And I think that's the challenge which I put before myself as a teacher. And the major subject that I teach is law, and law by definition is a very boring subject. It becomes boring if you confine yourself to sections and if you confine yourself to cases. But the moment you teach law as a concept, that is in terms of how different concepts of justice, injustice, unfairness is converted into legal provisions, into concepts, so that these injustices are not happening or protected, that is how the law has to be understood, and not as something to be memorized, or not something as something has to be remembered and reproduced. And that is how the interest is generated. Then of course every subject has its conflicts, and every subject has its difficulties, right? And if we are able to engage the student with those conflicts, and without looking really for a final answer to it, if we are able to understand the different perspectives of the topic, I think that's when we make the student more intelligent. And I think that's the second challenge. The first is to make them interested, and the second is to make them intelligent. Not people who are expected to rote, mug and reproduce, but people who are expected to apply their minds. I think that is the second challenge as a teacher. The third challenge which I feel is to make them responsible and accountable for themselves. I think we are living in a world of limited opportunities. and the competition is intense, and things are constantly changing, whether it's technology, whether it is business, whether it is the economy, things are constantly changing. And yet, there is ample opportunities for those who are willing, those who are capable, and those who have the right attitude and aptitude to take on these challenges. So as a teacher, that's the third thing, to tell them, to explain to them that the world is of limitless opportunities, provided you take the right steps and the correct steps to accomplish your goals, for which you must have goals. That's also important. So is the goal money, or is the goal recognition, name, fame, or is it simply doing a good job at whatever you're doing, howsoever small or howsoever howsoever petty it may be, but yet I complete my responsibilities, make the other person, maybe it's my teacher, or maybe it's my project guide, or maybe it's my boss, I make them satisfied with what I am, so that they call me again, they depend on me, they rely on me. So it's not necessarily it's about money and fame, but it could be very, very basic as fulfilling one's roles and obligations in whatever assignment work one does. Which brings us to the next point, that apart from all these things, I think everybody takes care of these things. How to become a good citizen is, I think, the next challenge. It's not only citizen for the country, citizen for society. So for example, I was teaching a fascinating subject called environment studies for the second year students, where we are talking about the environment and protecting the environment, and what good is environment studies if we only read it in books and if we don't apply it in our own lives, right? So whether we travel in a big car, if you're traveling in a big gas guzzling car which is polluting the entire city, then what is the use of writing an answer in a question paper on air pollution for 5 to 10 marks? So somewhere we have to live the subjects and live the themes which we are studying from time to time.